Today on Dirt Road Cred Jeep News, breaking news, an all-new model just revealed today, the Jeep Scrambler. We think it's going to be returning soon, and this thing has the potential to be quite literally one of the coolest Jeeps Jeep has ever released. But before we get too far into this video, we wanted to give a little homage to Memorial Day that is this weekend and kind of just remember all of those that made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve what we have here in the US. You know, obviously we did the 41 build going on a year ago, and building that thing was probably the most emotional Jeep that we have ever done. It honors those that not only made the ultimate sacrifice, but served our country. And today's video is just kind of a little bit about that as we started off. And as we drove around the 41 the other day, much like any other day we drive it, a lot of veterans always come up, shake our hand, and want to chat with us. But we took that one out, and we also took the purple Jeep out that we're going to be giving away. And now through Monday, May 26th at midnight, we're going to do buy one, get one free entries on our website as a little bit of a sale. I'm not sure why everyone does sales on this weekend, probably because everyone has Monday off. But you'll be able to go on there. If you just add one or two to the cart, you'll automatically get a second one for free. And guys, even with the doors off of this thing, it is turning heads everywhere you go. So giving you guys a little bit extra entries, and we're curious to see which driveway and which state this thing ends up in. So it's going to end August 31st in about a week and a half after Smoky Mountain, and we're super excited to give that phone call to the winners. Let's get some of the other news out of the way, and some news that probably might be heavy hitting for some of you guys. The biggest one right away is that Earl Grey is now available to order on the Jeep Wrangler. That is an absolutely wildly popular color. And Ryan, if you remember when I picked up my Bikini 392 years back, there was an Earl Grey Willys Extreme Recon that I actually had them quote out, price out, and I almost took it home. I'm a huge fan of Earl Grey. I think you can accent that color fantastically. And honestly, I'm excited to see it back on the Wrangler, and I'm hoping to see it on the Gladiator pretty soon. But if you guys have been wanting to order that, I believe the price point is $595 for that, and it doesn't look like a limited edition model or color, so you guys can now do that. And one way that you could actually place the order for an Earl Wrangler, if you're looking to do so, is by using our Dirt Road Cred dealership affiliate program. If you go on there, submit your information, you're going to be connected with dealerships that we work with, and hopefully get a great deal and some really good advice on your next Jeep vehicle. Another cool thing before we get into the really heavy-hitting stuff is, Ryan, this is not really crazy our purview, but I think it does tie well into the next thing, is Dodge has released the Rumblebee, which is a Ram 1500 platform vehicle coming equipped with a 5.7 liter V8, a 392 Apache Hemi V8, and a 777 horsepower Hellcat engine. Now, why does this matter in a Jeep channel? It's because of what Stellantis is doing across the board. This vehicle is a lowered street truck with 3 V8 engine configurations, no auto stop start, wide body kit, brake air duct vents. This thing is loaded up for a truck. It's a quad cab short bed, and what I was reading, it was like 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds for a Hellcat. I think Dodge and Stellantis as a whole are really trying to turn things around, but overall, when we talk to engineers, when we talk to people at the back end, it's not like you can just hit the plug or hit the button and say, start making cool stuff. It takes a little bit of time. So I think we're past that little bit of time. We're starting to see the cool stuff get released, and today's biggest one that we actually got a call from Anthony, another one of our buddies in our dealership program down at Sands Jeep. He said, hey, have you guys seen this article or the investors meeting? They have just dropped, with a curtain on it, one of the coolest things that we've seen come from Jeep in a long time, and I think they're going to change up a lot of things here in the near future. All right, guys, so here, the real meat and potatoes and what we learned today after the investor meeting and kind of all the hearsay and our personal opinions afterwards. It was really exciting to see what Stellantis is doing, and this investor meeting was basically kind of a predictor or a future kind of thoughts and plans that they have as a company through the year 2030. So they are, of course, talking about what their predictions for sales, what their predictions for profitability, all the other good stuff that all the investors want to hear. And we're just the oddball folks that really care about the vehicles that are being released. Typically, investors care about how much money you're going to make us. We just care about what you're going to do with our beloved Jeep vehicles. Now, throughout this meeting, there's a couple different things talked about. Obviously, a lot of slideshows, and obviously the whole deck is live there too. You guys can read through the whole PowerPoint. But what really struck us was the hidden details in plain sight. In these investors meetings, they want to tell the investors what they're doing to give them confidence to buy more shares. And by showing new vehicles and driving new life into Jeep, they're trying to do just that. So right away, we are met with obviously the Wrangler 2-door, the Wrangler 4-door, the Gladiator, and then right next to it was called the Wrangler Scrambler. Now, I think there was a little bit of typo because on the Gladiator side, it said Wrangler Gladiator. So maybe there was a little bit added there, but what we saw next to this thing looks like, even though it was draped in a cloth, a very aggressive version of, hopefully, a 2-door pickup truck. Now, what we're going to get into a little bit later in this video is our speculation on what this could actually be. But first off, let's talk about why Jeep might be exploring this option right now. There's a lot of reasons we personally think so. The biggest one actually comes from our friend Anthony once again, and he said, during the current time with the EPA and all the regulators, the way that they are in this administration, it's probably a heck of a lot easier to get these vehicles approved for the CARB testing, for the EPA approvals, and get high horsepower vehicles out there to the market. If you guys remember, years ago, it was a lot harder to get things passed, and obviously the big EV push. I think the EV, Ryan, is pretty much dead at this point on a lot of other brands. Although gas prices are up, I think V8 engines are making a huge return. And the reason we mentioned earlier about the Rumblebee is because that lets us know that Dodge and Stellantis as a whole, I don't think is scared right now to release different trims, different models, and put money into it. A good friend of ours at Stellantis actually said one of the biggest questions they get when they present vehicles to the corporate guys and the big shareholder meetings is, how will you price it and how many do you expect to sell? Because at the end of the day, when you're making a business decision, that's what really matters. But I would say the old way of looking at that definitely took a back burner and they were putting 4xEs and everything else up front. And nowadays, I don't think it's how many will you sell and what will you price it at. I think it's what does the customer want. We saw that with a street truck in the Ram. We're seeing with all the different engine options, the 392 coming in the Willys, the price point coming down for the Moab 392. And I think we are making a huge shift from how much money can we make to what will our customer actually buy. And I think that's right where we are right now. And I think there's been so much talk and speculation, especially from the Dirt Road Cred community and comments about give us a 5.7 Hemi Gladiator, give us a 2-door, and just X that times a couple thousand, and that's what our comments typically look like. Well, first, guys, before we get into our predictions about what the Scrambler could look like, let's break it down into what the original Scrambler actually was. We were out at Barrett-Jackson in Scottsdale, Arizona a few months prior, and we were able to check out a few of these original Scramblers, which were built upon a CJ8 platform. The original Scrambler was an extended CJ7 turned into a CJ8, and then the bulkhead, or the front of the vehicle, had a hardtop that went basically right past the passengers and then dropped straight down. The bulkhead went into the back of the cab, and this wasn't a separated detached truck bed. This was all one single body with a hardtop basically splitting it in half, and then a roll bar right behind the back of the hardtop. We've seen a lot of different iterations in this throughout the years, though. So CJ8 obviously was one of them. Back actually prior to that, there was a CJ6, which is an extended CJ5. They didn't really make those into trucks, not that I'm aware of too much. But afterwards, the YJ never got an extended model. The TJ, you got an LJ. So it was the longer version of the TJ. It was quite a bit longer, and those are highly desirable for off-roading. And then we had the JK years, which unfortunately here in the States we never received, but overseas they actually built a J6 model. They were used in the Israel and the Egyptian military, as well as underground mining vehicles, and a lot of other places throughout the world, but we never got them here. They were so cool. They actually had diesel motors, rear leaf spring suspension, and a Dana 60 in the back end. So really cool to see those, but we never got them here in the States. Jared, our friend at America's Most Wanted, he has a couple of them, and maybe I can pull up a shot of them. Those things were absolutely sick. But we never saw it for the JL, and we haven't really seen an extended version in a while. So firstly, we absolutely love the direction Jeep is going, and Stellantis as a whole, with a lot of these vehicles. I know we mentioned the Rumblebee a few times, but as we went through the investor meeting, there's little Easter eggs they like to hide in their actual corporate documents. And next to a lot of these vehicles, particularly the performance vehicles, was a little checkered flag. And what I think that checkered flag means is higher horsepower or more SRT involvement. We saw it next to the Ram 1500, and of course, We now know that we can get the TRX is coming back, as well as the Rumblebee, which has all sorts of V8 variants. There was a checkered flag next to the Grand Cherokee, and some of you might not know, but back in previous generations, the Grand Cherokee used to come equipped with a V8, and you could even get a Hellcat in what was called the Trackhawk. There was a lot of V8 iterations and Hellcat iterations in these vehicles, and dare I say, could you imagine one of these coming from the factory with a larger engine in this new Scrambler platform? So let's think about what they would actually have to do to build this Scrambler. I personally have my take on it, and that's by looking at previous generations and what Jeep has previously done, as well as considering the manufacturing cost to design, implement, and build a whole new vehicle. What I personally think is going to happen is the Scrambler is going to be built upon the Wrangler four-door platform. I could see them basically using their infrastructure and the architecture that they have used over the years to make a Wrangler into an extended truck or close out the bulkhead and turn it into a truck, and to save some manufacturing costs. So here's what I could see. Wrangler frame, Wrangler suspension, Wrangler chassis, all that goodies underneath, maybe a 392 because that has already been designed for the Wrangler vehicle. I could see, Ryan, the front clip being that 715. I think that Anvil, or whatever they call it, Anvil 715, that is the closest we have ever seen one looking like it's going to be reality. And let's be real, how many times have we seen that on concept vehicles? It's been all over the place. We saw it at Daytona Jeep Beach on the Convoy. We saw it at this one on the Anvil 715. It's got to be coming in some form or fashion. And what a better way to do it than on a Scrambler two-door truck, which back in the day, the Gladiators and the 715s would have had that wider front clip. Not only that, but it would give you more room for cooling. I know everyone thinks that these are just going to have V8s, but Dodge and Stellantis has invested pretty heavily into the Hurricane engine. The Hurricane engine is an inline-six twin turbo, which would make it need a little more, or 4 or 5 more inches forward, which that front clip did have. So a lot more room in the front clip, but I think ultimately what I see happening is using some of the architecture that they already have or sharing architecture with, I would assume, the new to come Jeep Wrangler. I think they're going to redesign it very soon here, and I would share a lot of that architecture and infrastructure on the Scrambler. So I see Wrangler tub on the back end, that 715 in the front clip, and then basically using a solid tub off of the J8. So you've got a front door, you've got a bulkhead that closes out the front section, and then in the back area you have a bed of this vehicle, but you don't have the back door. So you have a bed of this vehicle, you can do whatever you want with it, or maybe even like on the J8s, we've seen these in the past, they'll do a soft top the whole way back. They would do a soft top just enclosing the front door, but then the entire back of it is almost like a troop carrier, which I think, can you imagine having 6 foot behind you to haul all your gear and stuff? That would be sick. But using that same Wrangler platform obviously makes it easier for the 392. They could add that new Dana 50 axle in the rear, and then the tailgate, you could add the bumpers, swing out tire carriers, and all those other goodies back there while saving some manufacturing costs. Now, I think we saw it with the Rumblebee. They're using still the Ram 1500 center section with the quad cab, TRX wide body fenders, TRX wide body bed sides, but then just some added goodies with some duct cooling, with some different performance suspension pieces, but overall not reinventing the wheel. And I think unless they go crazy with this Scrambler, I see it needing to use other platforms, pieces, and bits to make it useful, make it profitable, and also try and keep the retail price down, because if they turn it into its own vehicle from the ground up, I think this thing would push over the 6 figures very quickly. Now, as we look a little bit further into this, Jeep has kind of teased us over the years, and in fact, we actually saw one of their older concept vehicles, the Scrambler, down at Tennessee at the Smoky Mountain. A local celebrity drove that down from Jeep, and we were able to see it in person, and that thing has a 392 under the hood. It's a 2-door, but then it was an extended vehicle just like the Wrangler. They did almost like a fastback top on this thing to kind of close it out in the back a little bit, but overall, that thing looked fast. It was a 392 under the hood. He said it was quick, but obviously it was a custom one-off vehicle. One of these things in production, I could see almost them using if you guys are at all familiar with that Slate EV vehicle, they kind of made it modular to the point where you could modify and decide how you use it. You could close it off as a single cab, you can make it an extended length vehicle, you could use the bed as a bed, but gives you guys more of an opportunity to modify this. And then I think one of the coolest things would be is if they would build it off of the Wrangler platform, use the original tailgate from a Wrangler to be able to open the tailgate like this. Truck beds don't open like that, but being able to swing a truck bed open and still mount your spare tire on there would allow every aftermarket manufacturer to have tire carriers, bumpers, all the same goodies, just with a really cool truck modular scrambler vehicle. Because the Scrambler you can pull the top off of. You can pull that front two-door top, you'd still have a bedroll bar, and you can pull the doors off of. So I don't know, I'm excited to see how they could do this thing, but I think there's a really good chance that this is going to be one of the coolest vehicles we've seen in many years coming from Jeep. All right, guys, well, that's pretty much going to be a wrap on today's video. Before we leave, though, we would love to hear your comments down below. What your thoughts are on this new Scrambler, how excited you are, what you would like to see Jeep actually do with this vehicle. I have to imagine if they're already talking about it, they have some pretty dang good plans, if not one of these things actually built. So drop a comment on what your thoughts are. What do you think it's going to come cost-wise, and what engine do you think is going to be underneath the hood? Overall, though, we've been having a lot of fun here at the channel. If you guys are just stopping by for this video, make sure you click back. Our last video, we actually retrofit the new quick release hinges from a 26 onto an older model Jeep. So check that one out. That's some more installation content on the channel. And of course, you guys know we do a mix of everything. So Jeep news always has been coming out quite frequently lately. But until next time, Ryan's behind the camera. I'm here talking to you, and we want you to get out there and earn yours.